welcome back, everyone, to the newest episode of New Voice Live. I've lost count of the number of episodes we're at. I think we're near 50. We'll have to do a check and do a big 50th episode special if we are. But it's been a while. I'm glad to see you all back in another week of our episodes. We've been at it for a while, and I think this marks a beginning for us as 2.0, but also, as I said, a transition point. We're going to start to focus more on some of the craft of this. We've called ourselves the art of public speaking for a while. And I think what I'd like to do with not only our speeches, but also Zen Masterclass is what I'm calling it afterwards, is to get into some of the nuances of it. So we're going to do that with Peter later on after the show. And I think traditionally what the idea is to be able to deconstruct the speeches that we hear. So unfortunately, we don't have a speaker tonight, but that means we get to spend extra time with Peter at the end. But it's going to be a bit of an experiment, as I said, with Cailley both at the helm and also with Masterclass. So bear with us. We're going to try to work through this as best we can. But we did this in person, and I think we had a pretty good reception for it. So we're going to try to do it here as well. So stick around for that afterwards. We're still going to do our after-hour stuff as well for people to get to know each other, but we're going to include and start with the masterclass. With that said, let's get ourselves into table topics, and I'll introduce our table topic master for the evening. That's going to be Rob. And we'll get Rob on the screen. We'll let him introduce his table topic for the evening. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Hey, Henry. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Looking forward to your table topic master role. You're always such a good table topic master. Very creative questions. Some of the best costumes we've seen. So I'm looking forward to this week's table topic. Why don't you let us know why you chose the question and all about table topics?
Well, I'm very excited for this question and for all of our friends that are here that are from abroad. There's a very important week here in America where we inaugurated a new president. And along with some of our other themes, like our new year and some of the transitions we've had, from 2020 to 2021, I thought it'd be a good time to talk about transition, but not just transition, but really kind of getting into the nuance of it. And I think you could interpret it in a lot of different ways. But when we think of transition, we do think of caterpillar, then butterfly. But I really find that space in between the here, I'm going to use a little prop that I just made, but music, you guys have heard this quote, is the space between the notes. And any good story, and so much of what we do here is about stories, has that growth of a character or of someone going from a certain position in the story to really growing and transforming. But the movie itself is really that in-between space. So however you guys want to define it or kind of dive into it, but describing the space in between a major change or transition. I really love this idea because to me, and I'm a bit of a yoga fan and meditate, but there's those moments of quiet and calm where you really are the most creative and ideas just come to you. And I'm just going to put this here. It's another little prop. But yes, creation comes out of that space. So I'd love to hear your guys' stories. First up, I believe we have, drum roll. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see here. I can't see my chart. I'm going to look on the link. I think, we have Sean as the first speaker. And I'm going to remind all of you, the word of the day is adapt, adaptation, adaptive, however you want to use it. And I think as Henry is talking about some of the transitions we're doing in New Voice Live, It's a very thematic topic. So, Sean, are you around?
Hey, I'm here.
Oh, greener pastures.
Yep, I
Transition.
changed it up on you.
All right, Sean. Well, you have 2 minutes. I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Sean Tripal speaking. If I could answer your question in one word, it would be ambivalent. Sometimes the decisions we make are outcome dependent. If I do this today, will this lead to my X goal? I think we can all agree that life doesn't always progress in a linear fashion. Sometimes you're going to get a curveball thrown towards you. When I speak about a transition or something I'm trying to change, I tend to talk more about the process itself as opposed to the actual outcome. Maybe if we speak more about the process and the steps that we're going to take in order to achieve something instead of the desired outcome, transitory changes would probably be less scary. So I think in short, I'll say by like thinking about small things, you can make big changes. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Sean. The small things, and I think that's such a important thing because we're so used to this social media culture and seeing things just very glossy, and that process of going through it and getting to that finish is really kind of the important the 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 biggest reward of anything that you do. So I'm gonna have fun tonight. I'm gonna draw kind of a little graphic of everyone's table topic. So the star there kind of represents that moment that
It's
Sean
awesome.
was talking about. So thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
And by the way, Sean is the one that inspired this post-it flare that I'm doing. So thank you, Sean. Next up, we have Alex. Alex from Montreal, can you come on screen?
I can if you get me there.
All right, we'll go through our virtual Rolodex. There you are.
Here I be.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Rob.
So,
Well, so what a week it's
excited?
been, huh?
Yeah, it's been
Just
quite a week.
starting to exhale now. Yeah. Right.
Fresh air.
Indeed.
Well, so the question or the topic is describe the space in between a major change or transition. And the word of the day, which I'm excited to hear you kind of max it out in all its iterations, is adapt. So I'll let you adapt. Take it
Well,
away.
adaptability, adaptations for this wonderful word, and the space between everything. That's, I believe, where the creation is. That's sort of the notion of the quantum mechanics. You know, they talk about Boolean measures, right, wrong, up, down. Well, we've seen that it's really in between the spaces where the creativity is. I'm reminded of the world as it once was when I was a child, and I'm reminded of growing up, my move from the innocence of childhood to the experience of now, and I'll be going to the innocence back, I guess, of my demise. But each and every moment, there's a step, there's a space, all these transitions, and we have to adapt and be adaptive to all of this. One day, an incident occurs. What is the incident? What is the event? The event could be love, loss, birth, death. This is a moment in our lives where we pause. We had a moment of transition just the other day, a moment where we paused. And we went from one headlong rush towards nihilism to a change back to some semblance of sanity. There was an adaptation there. And now we're raising the stakes. President Biden has talked about being on wartime footing. We're raising the stakes. We need to focus on the best things for all of us, the better angels of our nature. This is a moment of change. This is a moment for all of us to embrace the spaces and to go forward and create. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Always the orator in our group, and it's so wonderful to have you. It's every time you say or give a table topic, it's very inspiring. And my takeaway and post-it drawing for you, Alex, is pause. I think we all need to take a little moment and pause. So thank you so much. And next up, we have, drum roll. I can't read it. It's too small. Oh, Jeneil. There you are. Hey. Welcome.
I was on mute after 10 months of doing this. Hi, Rob.
I do it like every other day. It's it's our world. How are you?
I'm well. I am also recovering from this transition. How are you?
I have a lot of transitions going on in my life right now, so it's transition time.
Indeed.
So describe the space in between a major change or transition, and the word of the day is adaptation or adapt, and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Master, for the question. Thank you for being here, esteemed members and guests. I could not imagine a better question at this point in time during this extremely stressful week, at least to me. And I think that Alex put it so succinctly that we just had 4 years of a headlong rush that really didn't make much sense into something where hopefully we're coming to a point where we're leveling out, which is a really good feeling. I was planning on using this table topic to talk about the transition between college and adulting, adult life. But after hearing Sean's speech, I thought that I would switch it up a little bit. So the other day, I had the opportunity to hear an interview with a woman named Megan Hellerer. She is actually Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's career coach. And this interview was really pretty mind-blowing to me because so AOC's career coach, she talks about the old way of looking at, of approaching your career, approaching your life is destination based. So you see a CEO of a company and you say, I'm going to do whatever steps that person took to get to that position, I'm going to do that. And this term may be uncomfortable for some, but AOC's career coach describes that method as life plagiarism, which really is kind of not a not very nice method, right? Or term. And then, so the method that this career coach uses and used with AOC to great effect and great success is the let me think of it's called the directional method, where you take one little step at a time into a direction that works and kind of prototype and test out the direction. So that is what your question reminds me of. Thank you, Rob.
I really love your answer, and with AOC being such an inspiration and you talking about the coach of AOC, I think I was really drawn in. It was like, oh, tell me more. And I love that. I drew a little representation of what you talked about, and it's the steps, not necessarily that end. And I've never heard that before, the plagiarism. And a lot of times you hear, oh, find the people and model it off of what they've done. But I love that thought of just prototyping and iterating and really being adaptive as the space between transition.
I think it's super attractive, especially these days, because we just don't know. The future is so uncertain. So why not go easy on yourself, take a step here, a step there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Thank you so much, Jeneil. All right. Oh, I can read it clearly now. Peter, you are up next.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good to see you. So I'm excited to hear you speak. This seems like a topic right up your alley. So describe the space in between a major change or transition. And I'll let you kind of get creative with how you're going to jump into it. But the word of the day is adapt. And take it away.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the question. As usual, is thought-provoking, or maybe it's just me. I think everything is thought-provoking if you just reflect a little bit longer on it. I think there's a few ways to answer this. What came to mind at first is that the space in between is the space that isn't pretty, right? It's the thing that not a lot of people see or even want to see. If you think about an athlete, right, the proving ground for how much work they do in the space in between are the games that you go to. They don't get better during the games. They get better when they're not playing, right? I also think that what we're doing today is the space in between for all of us, right? It's the space, it's the part of the journey that's in between the milestones of not being a good speaker, being an average speaker, and being an excellent speaker, or whatever those milestones are for you. I think, there was a lot of good commentary that talked about the adaptation that happens during the journey, during the spaces in between. And I full-heartedly agree with it. Looking at myself from the time that I joined this club, I have tried to adapt my point of view and my strategy to, instead of waiting to see if a table topic slot is open and then signing up, I have chosen to just be one of the first people to sign up to make sure I get an opportunity to speak and continue to put myself out there. And so in closing, I think if we all treat the space in between as one that is beneficial for us and one that can make us better, the milestones will look a lot sweeter. Thank you.
So well said. And it's so true. I think Henry talks about this quite a bit as well. We see so much of the polish, and I want to see some of the process. And I love that you kind of like dug in there. And there's this, I probably won't say it right, but it's what I drew for your little table topic. But there's this Michael Jordan quote about all the shots he's missed and games he's lost and all of that. And I just love hearing that. I think it's not about the game, but the practice in between.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was wonderful. All right. Next up, we have Devika. Hey, Devika.
Hey Rob, how are you?
Hey, my fellow leadership team member. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here on a Friday night.
Yes, me too.
Well, I'm going to reread the question. Describe the space in between a major change or transition. We've had some wonderful stories and table
Yeah.
topics already about it, and I'm really excited to hear how you jump into this. So I'll let you take it away. The word of the day is adaptive or adaptation, however you want to plug that in there. Go for the Bernie.
Thanks, Rob. So first of all, I want to congratulate all the speakers. You've been, been really, you've taken the stage by storm by all your speeches, and I just want to add to my add to the topic. So I'll speak about the transition right from the time, and I'm sorry to bring up the pandemic again, but uh, that's exactly the time that most of us felt, major transitions in our life. So, and we actually got to understand our, I would say, realize our true strength and true, how much we can adapt. So we realized how much adaptive we are, and it reminds me of a quote, or not a quote, but actually the whole idea behind the theory of Charles Darwin, right? He said that uh, whoever is the strongest wins in evolution. And I would say that, whoever is most adaptive wins, as we've all learned over the past few months, right? And I would say, of course, adaptation and strength go hand in hand, because how, it actually means that you are strong, enough to adapt and change along with changing times. And I would say personally, for me, I've faced a lot of transition in my personal and professional life in the last few months. The last few months, I was looking for a new job, which I lost due to the pandemic. And I came across this wonderful book. I actually got to reading again because I had all the time. And then I read a book called Free Economics. And it's actually written by a journalist, and he interviews an economist. And, and that economist, Stephen Lubner, is basically a different kind of an economist. His take on economics is very different, and basically it tells three things, I would say. One is that there are incentives that dominate your life, and second is that experts often give those incentives to exploit the fact that they know more than you, or they want to hire you. And third is that just because two things happen simultaneously doesn't mean that one causes the other. And while I was searching for jobs, I took those that summary of the book as an incentive for me to get a job. And I would say that changed things for me. I got more into the whole process of finding, I got out of my rut and transitioned myself, adapted to the transition, and finally got a job. And I think now, especially with the political scenario changing, I see a lot of hope, a lot of change around the horizon. So thank you.
And congratulations. I'm excited that you were able to get a new job. And you just reminded me of Freakonomics. And I haven't read it in a long time, but I remember it being such a great book and really inspiring. So thank you for reminding me of that, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the great topic. It sets us thinking.
Alex. guys got to follow the chat. Alex is on fire. All right. Next up, we have Trey. Hey, Trey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
What does your shirt say?
It says nerd.
Oh, the band?
No, just me being a nerd.
Oh, you have the best shirts.
Oh, thank you.
So the table topic is describing the space in between change or transition. Word of the day is adaptation, adaptive, adapt, however you want to use it. And I'm looking forward to hearing your table topic. So I'll let you just jump right into it.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Honestly, this entire time, I've been sitting here thinking about what does the space in between actually mean? I really did appreciate hearing everybody's interpretation. One thing I definitely agree with is that adaptation definitely is a huge part of this space in between. To get more into it, I'm thinking, is there actually a point in which we are not in the space in between? Because when I think about it, yeah, there are times whenever we were terrible at things. There are times when we become better at things, but I feel like we are always constantly improving. We're almost like a perpetual beta version of ourselves. So in essence, what I'm thinking, when do we actually see the outside of that in between? Is it necessarily a bad thing that we are in the space in between? I don't really perceive it as so. I honestly really appreciate being inside there, thinking about what kind of potential we have, thinking about looking at our past and where we've been and when we were terrible speakers or pretty weak at lifting weights at the gym. But each day that we go back and we build that muscle and we strengthen, we are building that muscle. We become stronger. And I don't think it's really until you give up that you see the outside of that space in between. Well, thanks.
That was fantastic. You just got really meta, and I feel like this reminds me of philosophy class from college. It's like going into Descartes and discourse on method, and it's sort of like I think therefore I am, and just yeah, we always are in that process. This is my little doodle for what you said. It's just making me like really the gears grinding in my brain.
I love it.
But that was awesome. Thank you so much, and I really nerded out on that topic. That was good.
I love it. It was a great topic. I'm even still processing it while my mouth was moving. I was still processing.
It flowed so well.
Yeah,
So
that's great. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Asantie. Hey, Asantie.
Hi.
I'm so glad to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad that you're doing tabletop. This is great.
You bring the best energy, Asantie. I feel like if I hang out with you, I would be in a great mood all the time. You should bottle up that energy and sell it.
Thank you.
So I'm glitching out a little bit, so I apologize to everyone, but the table topic theme or discussion is describe the space in between a major change or transition, and the word of the day is adapt. So I'll let you jump right into it.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and thank you, Rob. I think I'll be a little cliche, and I think that Alex and Jeneil touched on this just a little bit, but I wanted to talk about the transition into adulthood. I'm still very early, and I'm not sure that I've quite gotten there yet, but given that I had a major move for school and I had to make some other big decisions, I think that I'm slowly getting there. And one thing that my parents told me when I had to start making some big decisions on where I wanted to work and what I want to study is to make sure that am able to stand on my decisions. And that was something that I really internalized from the time I finished my undergrad degree, because that year after that, I was confused, I was unsettled, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue with school to master's degree or if I wanted to go to work. And I was very frustrated because I thought I'd really have things figured out. I don't know why I thought I'd have things figured out at 21 at the time, but I was really down on myself. And I took that to heart, and I just made sure that even with the discomfort and with the uncertainty, that I would stand on whatever decisions I made, because I think an important part of transitions is knowing when to pivot and when to try something new and when to pat yourself on the back and when to hold yourself accountable. So I really just took all of this and I'm trying to make it through and just really continuing on and being hopeful and very cautious throughout all the transitions, but mostly trusting that things will work out okay.
What you said is so mature, and I I actually look up to a lot of the things that you say are so well spoken, and um, it reminds me of the meaning of the word decide is to kill all other options, and I loved how you brought that up, that standing on your decision. So I drew that little post
I
it
love
for you.
it.
But that was very thoughtful, and even myself with kids and being an adult at 42, I think I still feel like I'm like a 15-year-old. So I don't know if I think it goes back to what Trey was saying. You may maybe never grow up fully. You always feel like, when am I going to be an adult? So, oh, well, thank you so much. That was lovely. And next up, David. David, can you jump on?
Yep, I'm right here with you, Rob.
Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing okay.
That's good. Well, so the subject or the theme is describe the space in between a major change or transition, and the word of the day is adapt.
Yep. I've been following everything very carefully.
Okay, sorry to be redundant, but I just want everyone to have it. So I'll let you jump straight into it. Thanks, David.
All right. Okay. So the way I look at it, the space in between when you're making a major transition is kind of just that halfway point. You start out and the change is very menacing. It's imposing, it's scary, it's something that threatens you. And as time goes on and you try to work your way towards it, whether it's in school or your career, you start to follow certain rules, right? You work hard, you practice, you continue exploring all of these different options. And of course, along the way, you're going to have some struggle and you're going to need people to heal you and help support you because it's difficult. And if you don't have those things in place, then of course you risk wiping out. Now, I know in my life, I've had a number of major transitions. That's part of growing up. It comes to all of us in all shapes and all sizes. And I've struggled to adapt. As an attorney, I've gone through 4 different career fields, and I'm not even sure that I have finally hit my landing spot. I started out doing personal injury, I transitioned to family law, and I was doing tort law briefly, and now I'm doing securities law. And each one of those things has been the space in between because I don't feel like I finally hit that last transition, that final destination. I'm still working towards it, but as I continue moving along, I'm learning new things, I'm growing as an attorney and as an individual. So I just have to keep on pushing forward, try to keep optimistic, even when things seem dark or scary, and know that if I stick with it, I will find my niche. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
I think that's so well said, and I loved all your props, and I drew your menacing Duck Vader that you had. But yeah, I guess sticking with it and just always learning is just so crucial. And the second you stop doing that, you're just kind of frozen in time, and not in a good way, not in a good space in between. So thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right. Gosh, these are so good, you guys. I'm so excited that you guys have taken this theme and really just ran with it in such a thought-provoking way. I think the next one is Alan. It's a little blurry. Oh yeah, there we go. Alan. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So the subject is describe the space in between a major change or transition, and the word of the day is adapt. And I'll let you just jump right into it, Alan.
When I was a little kid in elementary school, I don't have my cell phone. I don't have my personal computer. And my favorite thing is reading books. I think it's really interesting because each stories or theories can tell me a lot. And after I went to high school, I have my cell phone. I began to use the social media. And the day life was when I wake up in the morning, I will log into my social media to see what happens to my friends, the friends I know, or even the friends I don't know them. And I spend a lot of time gradually. In the beginning, I just use the morning time and the time after the time when I prepare to sleep. But gradually, I use my pieces time, and I spend too much time to know what happens to my friends, but I did nothing. And it lasted for several years until one day my cell phone was broken. I cannot use that. So that time, I only care about what can I do to the person surrounding me and what can I do to how myself improve. It can be the technical skills, it can be the public speaking skills. And that time, when I get away from social media, I grew up so fast. I'm now mean pay attention to use too much time in the social media is I'm now mean spend time on social media is not a good thing. But if you spend too much time on social media, you are living a fake world. I think everybody should live in a real world, care more about the people surround you, and care more about yourself and make yourself become more powerful so you can like help more people do more things. So now I began to adapt to spend few time on the social media. And I think it is happens not just to me and everybody surround us. Everybody should think about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. That was great, and it just reminds me that sometimes we get so trapped into our little phone and that we forget about the real world. So that's my little doodle for your topic. But I think it's so true, and I have this weird thing where find myself whenever I go onto my phone and I intend to like check the weather or do something on it, that I accidentally click Instagram, and then I'm like, whoa, what am I doing? And then I try to figure out what I was doing before I even went onto my phone, and then accidentally click Instagram again. So I think I deserve to have my phone break for a little bit. So thanks, Alan. That was great. All right. Next up, I think we have Marek.
That's right.
Oh, hey, Marek. How are you? What time is it in Poland right now?
It's 1:06 a.m.
Oh, so I guess you're like your Batman hero, kind of stay up very late.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, there's the Bat friend. So, Marek, I'm excited. You had such a fantastic table topic last week. And this week is describe the space in between a major change or transition. And the word of the day is adapt. And I'll let you jump into it. I'm excited to hear your
Presenting Marek, a man who left 2020 behind to provide a better future for himself thanks to New Year's resolutions. To do that, however, he will have no choice but to revisit and properly organize his plans on a fateful drive through the perilous highways of the procrastination zone. So that was the beginning of my speech related to Toastmaster speech related to New Year's resolution v procrastination, the dawn of better me. Last year, let me just say it was tough for me. I lost my job in February, I got divorced in June, so it wasn't easy. So what I could say, being a fan of pop culture and being a fan of a fan of Toastmasters and the situation, I thought this gap between previous past self and new self could be called the pit. If you have seen The Dark Knight Rises, you would understand this comparison in my mind, because I believe the pit can sometimes be a situation when you're fallen down the abyss of sadness and frustration. You can either stay there or you can make a climb, as the child did, as the broken bat did. So that would be definitely options. So I decided to create a list of New Year's resolution. I learned theory how to do it thanks to Mr. Michał Michalski. I learned how to make healthy and good habits, and I am friend with daily calendar and weekly schedule. So that is my plan. I can definitely say to my former self, to quote Billie Eilish, I let it burn. You're no longer my concern. Faces from my past return. Another lesson yet to learn that I'd fallen for a lie. You were never on my side. Fool me once, fool me twice. Are you there for paradise? Now you'll never see me cry. There's just no time to die. There's another song at the end. Let beauty come out of ashes. And when I created God, all I'm asking, let beauty come out of ashes. I wish all of you, including myself, a very happy new year and climb that pit. Thank you.
Thank you, Marek. I love the Batman references. I drew the pit here for your table topic, and I think it sounds like you're really climbing out of that. And I'm sorry to hear that 2020 was such a tough year. But by the way you're singing, I already feel like you're a new man. So congratulations, and I think someday we'll have to do a karaoke themed.
I'm rooting
Toastmasters. All right. Thank you so much, Marek. All right. Next up, we have Henry. Oh, here we go.
Yes, Rob. Now that Cailley's in charge, I get to be on table topics.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm going to let you just jump into it, but I guess I should say the topic is describe the space in between a major change or transition, and the word of the day is adapt. Take it away, Henry.
Rob, thank you for the question. This question is all me. I think for those of you who know me from a while back in our in-person meetings, know all I ever do is talk about Zen. And I think Zen is really about this question of the space between things. And for me at Toastmasters and New Voice Live, this particular place has a really particular interest. It's the place of the pregnant pause, where when you're given a speech, the silence that comes between the words is oftentimes the most awkward part of the speech. But it's also the place where you can really captivate and grab the audience's attention. And it's that space that's really fascinated me for a very long time in trying to understand, why is that silence so deafening? Why is it so anxiety inducing? And the answer to that is that it's that silence that makes the sounds that much louder. And so it's one of those things that requires us to be in rhythm with both the sound and the silence. And that's the hard part. For me, what I'm trying to do is to live in the silence more often. And so it's hard for me to describe. I'm not doing a good job of it. But ultimately, what the silence really represents is the difficult times between the things we're looking forward to, anticipating. And the Zen answer to that is, if we can embrace that silence, the pregnant pauses, and be okay with it, be comfortable in the awkwardness, that allows the sounds that we hear to be that much more powerful. And that's the reason why the silence is so important. So, Rob, I appreciate the question. I really didn't do a great job of it. I'm kind of out of practice on this table topics thing, but with that said, I'll turn it back to you. Thanks for the question.
You're always our Zen master.
Man, I got to tell you, Rob, that is so tough. So out of practice.
It's a pretty heavy question, I guess, for 2 minutes. So I think you did an incredible job. And I do think that's a hard thing, to be comfortable with those pauses, and I'm one of those people that fill the empty space with chatter when I'm uncomfortable. So I'm doing it now.
And that's the on counter as well. So, yeah, you're right, Robin. What this really told me is I got to start practicing some more. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you so much, Henry. Yeah, you guys, it is going to be a hard vote tonight for best table topic. Too many good ones. Oh, shoot. Cailley's up next. This is going to be off the charts.
Oh, shoot.
Cailley,
what does that mean?
yours are always fantastic too. I just feel like it's just, you know, one of those festivals and you just have like all the best bands. You don't know which stage to go see.
Everyone's playing the hits. Everyone's playing like the thing you want to dance to. I love that. New Voice Live is like that for us, right? Because we can't go to concerts. We can't go to live events. So we'll play some hits on the screen.
This is my life. Yeah. It's so true. So the table topic of the day is describe the space in between major change or transition. And the word of the day is adapt. I'll let you jump into it.
Thanks, Rob. Let me start myself off. Thank you, Rob. I'm always interested in hearing people's stories about how they handle transition and how they handle things when things just fall apart. And I think, you know, Marek talked a little bit about that, Asantie did. A lot of you spoke about really wonderful philosophical things. When I don't know what to say, I sort of offer up my own story. So I'll offer up the story of a time when I was in a real transition. It was during early years of when I moved to New York and I was trying to be in the film scene. I was working on this film, and some of you who work in the artistic fields will know this, that when you work really hard on a project together, you're sort of in the trenches together and you develop really close relationships with your coworkers and co-creators. And so we were working on this really intense film and I was spending long hours and I sort of completely fell in love with my coworker. And, you know, it was funny because as the film ended was at the same time I realized that like he wasn't interested. And my heart kind of got broken. And it was in one of those moments when I didn't have a job anymore. The film was a complicated success and I was heartbroken. So I think when those things happen, people do one of two things. They either go silent and just kind of everything stops, or they distract themselves. And I went the route of distracting myself and decided that I was going to leave New York. I was going to find success in some other way. And I was going to pursue this other film opportunity I had overseas. And I went to Kenya and I took my last dollar to do this. I took 2 planes, I took a boat, a ferry, and a motorbike to get to this small remote place where I was going to make this film. And I remember the first night I got there, I was staying in this compound with a host family who was graciously hosting me. And it was this tiny little hut and it had an iron corrugated roof. And that first night it just torrentially stormed. And I don't know if you've ever spent time in a small hut with a corrugated iron roof, but it was so loud that all I could do was just sit there with my thoughts. You can't do anything else at that point. And what I realized is I was still heartbroken. And it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, wow, you can cross an ocean, you can try and run away from your problems, but I was still heartbroken. And it's one of those things where you're just like, you know, things come up together and fall apart in different ways. I know I'm getting my time here. This is a story I've actually told many times. I'm always kind of retelling it because it has a lot of meaning for me. So I'd be happy to tell the longer version of it a different time. But for me, you know, how we deal with transitions and change is a defining part of who we are. I would say do what you need to do. Just don't spend your last dollar on a plane trip to a foreign country because you'll still feel how you did when you left. Thank
you, Cailley.
Oh, you're welcome.
I kind of wanted this timer to stop, but then I was like, oh, Cailley's in charge of it. So maybe you could just keep going for like the next 15 minutes.
I know. It's funny. I'm terrible at keeping on time. That is one thing. Henry said he's rusty. I'm rusty at keeping on time. So I appreciate you guys letting me roll on a little bit there.
No, and I thought it was such a wonderful story, and I haven't heard it before, and I know that feeling of heartbreak. And when that happens, it's like, gosh, you try to really just run away, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the lesson though. Like I love that story because I can tell it in many ways. I can tell it as a funny story, I can tell it as a heartbreaking story, but it's yeah, I think I'm always looking for people's stories of what they do when things kind of fall apart. When the thing you didn't want to happen the most happens, what do you do? Like I really love those stories from people because it instructs me on how to be. So I don't know if I really have a moral to my story, like I'm still figuring it out, but I love those stories. And I love this question, Rob, because I think we're never not in transition. Someone was saying, Trey was saying that earlier.
Yeah, that's true.
It's always, you just don't know where you are in the point, how far you're breaking, how far you're succeeding, because it's ongoing. It comes together and it falls apart again. Now I've used up way too much time.
Well, it was incredible, and I don't know if we have any more speakers, but I love that metaphor.
That'll make you think. When being alone with the iron corrugated roof, that'll make you think.
All right. I don't see anyone else on the list. Is there any stragglers that want to jump up, or are we out of time?
I think that's going to be it, Rob.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for letting me do this. This was a lot of fun, and thank you for everyone's table topics. They were very thoughtful, and I was touched by each and every one. Thank you.
Great job on that, Rob. And as usual, now it's time for us to do our voting for the table topics. Rob's absolutely right. It's going to be a difficult one this week. So, Sean, if you wouldn't mind putting the link in the chat for folks to give a thumbs up for their favorite table topics, as well as to give Rob some feedback. And while you're doing that, what we'll do is also then go into our roles for the evening. We have our grammarian and timer. And for that, our grammarian is going to be Alex. So if we can get Alex on the screen for us, that'll give us our grammarian count. Alex, can you hear me? Are you there? There we go. So we got Alex on the line. Let's get you on camera here, and then you can give us our grammarian. It looks like we may have had a little glitch on the screen, though.
Well, I'll tell you what, because I was so zonked out by everybody's wonderful stories that I didn't really take a grammar report, but I'll give you a grammar impression. My impression is that when we speak our heart, we speak our mind, it doesn't matter the words that we use, and it doesn't really even matter the ums and the ahs. However, the ums and the ahs, I would challenge you. We were talking about the pauses. That's where the speech occurs. That's where the enjoyment occurs. Take a pause, take a breath. When you speak, speak when you're exhaling breath. That way, you'll have fewer hesitations. And that way, the richness of your voice will come through. I liked what Marek did when he was singing. Speaking is singing. Speaking is movement. Speaking is
Alex, did we lose you there? We may have lost Alex.
all of the above and more. And that is the true role of grammar and the true role of... Oh, have we? Okay, I thought I was here. All right, well, anyway, back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. Yes, we're having some technical difficulties there all the way around. And for those of us who did use those ahs and ums, with which I know I did, thankfully you missed them. With that said, let's get to our timer. I think that's going to be, yes, Asantie. Get Asantie on screen, and she'll give us our times for the evening. Can you hear us, Asantie?
Yes, hi everyone. Me again. Table topics today, everyone. Like Alex, so distracted and had to kind of push myself to make the times. But Sean, you minute 45 seconds. Great table topic. Alex, again, 2 minutes, 5 seconds. Neil, 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Asantie, you there?
Peter, 2 minutes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Should I start over? Did you hear anything?
I think we got the first three.
Okay. Okay, so next would have been Peter, 2 minutes. Devika, 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Congratulations on your job. And I hope that this one is a really good transition for you. Trey, 2 minutes, 10 seconds. I have to say I have not reached your level of thinking, but it is what I aspire. That was really thought-provoking. Table topic. Me, 2 minutes, seconds. David, 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Marek, 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and thank you for your performance. Henry, thank you. Wisdom as always. 2 seconds, and absolutely I can agree.
Asantie, did we lose you again? We may have lost Asantie.
I don't know.
Yeah, you may be cutting out. So it sounded like the last one we heard was for Cailley, which was for 3 minutes. So thanks for that,
Yeah.
Asantie. Appreciate that. All the kind words as well. With that said, we're going to wrap up this week's show, and we're going to get into the Zen Masterclass. This is something I've been looking forward to for quite a while, so hopefully Peter has been able to stick around. But the idea for us is to get to a place where we're going to tighten up our show and then add some more time for the curriculum afterwards. So with that said, we're going to wrap up. If you can stick around for Peter's evaluation, please do so. We're going to get into some details there. We've got our traditional outro with our credits, but we also have added Cailley's video she did a little while back. For those of you who didn't see it, it's an amazing little video that's kind of a bit of a retrospective of the year. So we added that to the end of our outro. And then after that, we'll start our masterclass and give Peter some of the feedback from his speech last week. So with that said, look forward to seeing you guys after the show. And in masterclass, if you can't join us, we'll see you guys in 7 days. But stick around. It'll be fun.